Hello, folks. Welcome to Fearox Frank Reviews. Let me get the greeting out of the way. Hello, Happy New Year, and Merry Christmas to all. What's that? Christmas already came and went last week? Oh, you're right, except I'm not talking about the ordinary Christmas that we all know. No, I'm talking about Russia's Greek Orthodox and Russia's Christmas, happens to be tomorrow on the 7th, and today is actually Christmas Eve, amongst all things. Hence why my tree is still up. Actually, you know what? Yeah, I gotta find a spot to put that later on, though, after the season's over. So, well, either way, what's today's movie? Well, I decided to go back to the past. When I was a kid watching the Sci-Fi Channel, I happened to come across a movie series, two films particularly. So today we're gonna do a double feature. And what's today's movie? Why, it's the 1992 Lost World. Uh, yes, the TV for made film starring John Rhys Davies and David Warner. And wait, who are they playing? Why, John Rhys Davies is playing none other than George Challenger, and Professor Sumley is being played by the ever-talented David Warner. Oh, this is going to be such a delightful film. In fact, here's a bit of a screenshot from one of the movies. Yep, get a good look at that image. That's them, my friends. That is them on the Jurassic Adventure Collection, the DVD set. What else is on here? Why, it's Adventures in Dinotopia and Journey to the Center of the Earth, both made in the 2000s. I don't know how I feel about that. Yeah, seriously, I don't know how to feel about that one. You know what? Fuck it. Let's just get on with the film, shall we? So, this is going to be a double feature, and of course, what time is it exactly? Oh dear Lord, look at the time. I'm gonna hurry this up because I have to do some stuff today. So I'm gonna do one review real quick, stop the video, and take care of and do the other review. So how do we start off with this film? Well, this is actually based on the Sir Arthur Conan Doyle novel under the same name. Now, for many of you, The Lost World was actually, well, a 1925 film adaptation, a silent film adaptation, which there are many variations of it, most of which are here on the channel, here on the YouTube. That's right, here on YouTube's platform. We have a lot of variations of The Lost World. And I think there's probably a variation of this one on here too, but I digress. But it's probably but it could be just a VHS rip of somebody recording on the Sci-Fi Channel like I did a long ago. So the movie, so if you know anything about the novelization, it pretty much runs exactly the same as the novelization. And there have been several other Lost World films that came out afterwards. So what makes this one so special? This one came out a full year before Jurassic Park came out, 1992. Okay, it was actually early winter 1992, like February, and the sequel came out the following month. They were shot back to back. Okay, so let's just get on with the story. The story basically has Edward Malone, the main character of the whole novelization, basically going to see as a newspaper reporter, actually trying to get a good story, and thus his boss is telling him about telling him about Challenger, and well, of course, he goes under an assumed name to meet Challenger, and of course, we get a good old fashioned fisticuff action. It's pretty silly, to say the least. But to be fair, one of the things that really do help this movie out a lot more is actually John Rhys Davis' acting as Challenger. How he has a take charge attitude. And also later on, David Warner's summarization of being Summerlee is actually pretty damn good, too. I'm not going to lie about that one. So, in summarize, after they have a scuffle, a cop comes by and asks if they want if Eddie wants to press charges against Challenger. He says, "No, it was partly my fault." So they actually have a conversation. They talk about adventures and the lost world, and he actually shows them a photograph and some bones of various dinosaurs. Well, not exactly photographs, but mere drawings and so. And so Eddie is more or less very, very intrigued about the lost world. And so we come to the scientific part where the head institutes of science are seeing a grant Edward Challenger, George Challenger, the chance to prove his findings. They disprove them all the time. Why? It's the Royal Science Academy. Yeah, and here's a huge fun fact. How many of their discredits have been proved to be actually proven? Plenty, eh? And they didn't want to retract it. Fucking assholes. Anyway, Summerlee is actually on the board and actually tries to dismiss tries to dismiss Challenger's claims about the lost world. And then Challenger actually tells him, "Why don't you go on the adventure?" So, Summerlee, being played wonderfully by David Warner, says, "Oh, preposterous! Why the hell would I do it?" Until Edward Malone actually steps up and demands him to go on the expedition, and he'll go along with him. Gotta admit, though, Malone has got some balls in this version. And of course, we also have the Jenny character too. Yes, the photographer character of Jenny. She's in this version too. Who's not in this is actually okay. I know many of you are fans of the original novelization and huge dinosaur fans, so you may know about the character of Roxton, the Great White Hunter. He's not in this film series. No, in fact, they replaced his character with a kid character named Jim. Yeah, a 12-year-old, possibly 14, somewhere between 12 to 14-year-old kid named played Jim. Yeah. Before I say anything else, no, he is not a Kenny, which is very surprising. I mean, when I was a kid, I didn't really care about this character, but he actually is more of a useful character, surprisingly. Though, honestly, I think it would have been better if they actually had Roxton in this version, but no, he's not in this. No. You also have a native guide character called Mao, but that's much later when we get to the continent. So where is supposedly the Lost World? Why, it's in beautiful Africa. What? Africa? Okay, first off, if you know anything about the Lost World, it's supposed to be a plateau in the Amazon rainforest, which is in South America, not a plateau in Africa. Wow. Also, a bit of a fun fact too. You do know for a fact there's been tons of dinosaur sightings down in Africa for the past 100 years. So, okay, I can kind of see why they did that because of all the dinosaur rumors that were happening down in Africa for the past 100 years. So, all right, so yeah, they just made it down there. It would have been nice if they actually confirmed that they used the actual dinosaurs that were down there around that point in time to be in the Lost World, but no, they never acknowledged it. Well, whatever. Anyway, Jenny was trying to get her voice said about the whole expedition thing, but of course the British Commonwealth said, "Oh, preposterous! You cannot come on this trip. You're a woman." I know that's very sexist at the time, but keep this in mind. This was in 1912. Yeah, they would get sued today. Actually, no, I would really like their. I would like to know if one of the outtakes was actually if Jenny's actress just broke character. Go, I'm a woman. I'm going to sue your ass. I'm going to sue your ass. That would have been hilarious. Anyway, it turns out Jenny actually brings her camera along anyway because they want photography imagery, and also she's funding the expedition because she has a wealthy family in America. Well, that's okay, fine. Anyway, Jim wants to come along. Edward says no, and Summerlee tells Challenger he will only take charge of the expedition if Challenger doesn't come along with them. Okay, so Challenger stays behind, and Jim just happens to stow away on board the ship. So, okay, Jim's with them. They can't do anything about it. Is he going to be the film's Kenny? No, he is not. So, you know what? I was expecting him to do something that's very Kenny related. All right. For some of you who don't know what the hell that term means, have you ever watched a giant monster film or any film in particular that has an annoying child character? Yeah, namely in the Gamera film series from the Showa area, from 1965 up to 1980. Yeah, those kids were called Kennies. Well, to be fair, Godzilla had his fair share of Kennies. Though, to be fair, they were not as annoying as the Gamera ones were. I mean, that's one thing I gotta say about the Godzilla films. Godzilla's Kennies were less annoying. Yeah, go figure. And I'm going to stop saying the word Kenny because I'm having terrible flashback of the Gamera film series I did the Gamera film series I did a couple of years ago. And keep this in mind, it was the entire Showa series in Japanese. Why I review them in Japanese? Because the English dubs were fucking terrible. Plus, I didn't have access to the English dubs at that time either. I mean, come on, there was the Sandy Frank dubs, and there was also the original release versions with like one movie not even registered. So yeah, I chose the Japanese versions mainly because of the fact that the movies was top. Because listening to them in Japanese was tolerable, and the voices were less annoying for the most part. So anyway, they actually get to Africa and they actually meet the next character on the trip, Malu, who is a local African girl, and she is a wonderful beauty. And there's a lot I want to say about this character too, along with Malone, but that's going to have to be for the second film. For the first film, she's there to actually help with the expedition. And so Challenger shows up out of nowhere, and so they can actually go on with the mission. Somebody just swallows his pride and actually goes along with it. So, okay, they make it, and one of the porters is actually named Gomez, who's been a little suspicious, in a way. He's very suspicious. I don't know what's wrong with this guy. Why is he suspicious? I don't know why. But anyway, mm, they actually get to the island. It takes them at least a couple of weeks, but they do wind up getting to the plateau. So Challenger actually shoots a grappling hook up the plateau, and of course Summerlee and Jimmy and James go up there. So they say it's safe, so everybody else gets up there. Unfortunately, Gomez actually stays behind and actually breaks the grappling hook. Why? Well, it turns out a couple of years prior, Challenger and his good porter friend Putro, Puto, Putro, Puto. Hold on a second. I got the listing right here. I got the image up here on my computer real quick. Let me see. Pujo. Ah, there we go. Pujo. Yes, his name is Pujo. Pujo is a very loyal man. He actually stays with the rest of the porters, but yeah, and Gomez actually. Here's the thing. A couple of years ago, Challenger and Pudro, along with another guy who happens to be a Portuguese guy, just like Gomez. Well, this guy actually, they ran into another guy years ago. They ran into some explorer who actually told them about the Lost World. But the Portuguese guy really thought that the map he was given was actually about treasure, so he actually tried to steal it away from Challenger. And of course, Challenger killed him in self defense. And it turns out Pedro happens to be the very brother of the guy that Challenger happened to kill 2 years prior, who tried to murder Challenger. Yeah, okay. So rather than just wasting his bullets, Edward actually tells Challenger, let's just explore the plateau. There's got to be another way down. And so thus they explore the plateau. And yet we see the dinosaurs. Oh, the lovely, lovely dinosaurs in their puppetry and their lovely puppetry performances. Oh, yes, we do get to see some nice little dinosaur effects. Though they are puppets, they are very much convincing and somewhat okay in a low budget type of way. I mean, let's face it, if this was a Roger Corman film, it would have been much more nicer looking and more violent. I think Rex is right. I should probably do the fucking Carnosaur films sooner or later. Huh. Yeah. I gotta get around to doing the Carnosaur films, but I gotta get my hands on them first. So, moving on. We actually find. So, they do find some dinosaurs, and so the following night, as they all rest up, Jim wants to go do some exploring. So Eddie follows him and actually and stops him. Malu actually follows them, and Edward attacks Malu, but he didn't know it was Malu, so there's a bit of some sexual tension there. Hey, look, okay, I'll be honest, if the actor got a bit of a stiffy, I wouldn't blame him because she's fucking hot. All right, I'm just gonna up and say that right now. She is fucking hot. All right, so they actually try to go back to the camp, but there's a carnivorous dinosaur on the loose. I think it's a hadrosaur. Oh wait a minute, let me just go back up here real quick. The dinosaur that was in it is a Harris Heracerasaurus, late Triassic Harris lizard creature from South America. I don't know why it's on the plateau, but okay. Kind of weird. It's a small predatory dinosaur. So I'm sorry I butchered that name, but hey, what can I say? Some of these dinosaur names were given scientific names, and as time goes on, you realize that maybe giving them scientific names was a bad idea. And so they spent the night in a tree, and they actually get back down from the tree, and thus they actually try to go back to the campsite, and the campsite was raided by, believe it or not, some tribal men dressed up as skeletons. Now earlier the previous day, Jim actually saw a great lake, hence why he was actually going out in the middle of the night to look for the Great Lake. But here's the thing: he actually, on his way down, he actually saw a man dressed as a skeleton. So they go try. So next to Malu's directions, they find out where the campsite is, where the tribal are. So Edward decided not to waste the bullets and decided let's help them out. But it turns out these tribal men are actually going to feed them to the dinosaurs via Tyrannosaurus Rex, of course. Sorry, I had to do the there for a second because okay, folks, before I go any further, I just gotta say something real quick. All right. Now, I reviewed the movie Jaws, and I thought it was a great film. But here's the thing: if you know anything about sharks, then you know for a fact that the movie Jaws is heavily fictional, and that could never, and most likely what happened in the movie can never actually fully happen. But even Peter Benchley, the author of the original novel, said if you knew anything about sharks that he did today, and this was several years ago, he would have never wrote the novel Jaws. However, the movie Jaws was heavily based on the Jersey Shore shark attacks, which was actually that of a great white attack. But some researchers actually proved that maybe it wasn't a great white, but it was a bull shark, or some makos, or some other sharks that were extremely dangerous. So it's like a once in a lifetime thing. So I guess that was sort of an issue. Anyway, the same thing can be said about Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Now, don't get me wrong, the Lost World is considered one of the greatest novels he's actually written, but since he's also made Sherlock Holmes, that kind of makes him untouchable. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing: if Sir Arthur Conan Doyle knew anything about dinosaurs that we know about today, he probably would have actually rewrote the entire novel more accurately. For example, the movie takes place in the movie's supposed to take place in Africa, and the original novelization takes place in South America. Fun fact: there were no T Rexes down there. I know there's something called a Kaisei Rex, but some people have actually proved that that's actually supposed to be like a dinosaur that's actually heavily related to a Carnotaurus, which is a very short-armed dinosaur and a bulbous head, or something. So there are some dinosaurs that could have lived alongside in Africa around that point in time that have actually evolved and gotten bigger. And the Kaisei Rex is not actually, they call it the Kaisei Rex because it's not actually related to Tyrannosaurus Rex. It's just, at the time with media, they thought it looked like a Tyrannosaurus, but they didn't know anything what dinosaurs were back then. I mean, honestly, if this was fully accurate, it could have been a Carcharodontosaurus, which is related to Giganotosaurus. I think I said enough there. Okay, there's a lot going on here. So much so, it'd be like a massive video, but I don't have time for that. Let's get through the rest of the movie. So Edward and everybody else, actually, there was another person. There's actually some tribal men there too. Other tribal men that actually wear red cloaks. So they actually freed the dinosaur. So they actually freed the captors from the skeleton tribe, and thus get to the peaceful camp where they actually worship the herbivores as gods. Okay, sure, whatever. That makes sense. And however, it turns out that the herbivore dinosaurs are very sick and they're all dying. Somebody actually came up with this, has come up with a couple of theories, but Jenny doesn't want to hear about it. And so somebody does the most ballsiest thing in the entire movie. He actually takes one of the tribal children, actually goes right back to down to the bone camp, and actually takes several leaves that are growing around the camp, because they actually used the leaves as lures for when they were going to feed them to the carnivores. That is extremely weird. Well, anyway, somebody and her grab as much leaves as they can. They head back to the camp. The tribal chief gets killed in the incursion, gets killed during a scuffle, and the bold tribalmen actually wind up wanting to come back to the red tribalmen. Okay, fine. But anyway, the reason why somebody actually did go after those leaves is because of one reason. The leaves are actually medication because the dinosaurs actually are suffering from an ancient disease that only they're actually vulnerable to. But the leaves that are actually growing within the region are actually the antidote. So nature actually made a cure for the dinosaurs. And the reason why the carnivores actually haven't been sick is because of the fact they eat the leaves. Is that the people they were sacrificing the carnivores to, they were covered with the leaves. So it's a 2-for-1 deal. And so the dinosaurs actually have been found, so the dinosaurs are not being cured, the herbivores are not being cured alongside with the carnivores. And the tribal chief, in a sign of good grace, decides to actually show everybody the way out the plateau. And so they go through a cave system that leads them right down to the bottom of the plateau, where they are now heavily safe. Pujo is there waiting for them graciously, and they have some good hearty hugs until Gomez comes by and fucks it all up. Yeah. Oh boy, Gomez is about to go on a shooting spree until, well, Edward actually distracts Gomez, and then Summerlee and Challenger try to tackle him, and Summerlee gets tossed aside. But Challenger and Gomez are fighting until Challenger actually shoots him in the chest, and he's cowering away. And Challenger probably says the most ballsiest line in the whole movie. And this is sort of a family film, and I gotta admit, for Jonathan Rhys Davies to say it like that is pretty hardcore. It's like, no, leave him for the jungle. Leave him to the jungle. So they head back to London, and the science committee still disproves them. They have photographic evidence. They have plant like. They still dispute. Oh my god! I swear to God, I just want to take these guys out to the back and introduce them to a Louisville Slugger. However, there's more to it. Jim actually brings in a box and brings out a baby pterodactyl named Percy. I forgot to mention there was a baby pterodactyl that was at the village earlier that was sick, and they named him Percy. And so somebody actually cured him earlier in the film, so now he's a good friend for them. Yeah. So yeah, now the proof is actually proven that there are dinosaurs down there. Percy is actually the proof, and well, Challenger and Summerlee are now considered the greatest geniuses of our time. Later on, we get to see Jenny. We get to see Jenny, Edward, and Jim make it all the way back to the London Zoo, where they have Percy on display. But he's not really happy there, so what they do? Nobody's looking. Come on, Percy. Fly back to Africa. And he flies away. Oh, goodbye, Percy. Goodbye. Well, where's Malu? Oh, she's back in Africa where she lives in Africa, so she stayed behind. Yeah. Well, of course, she and Ed did have a nice kiss, of course, but that's about it. Anyway, that was The Lost World 1992. How is this movie? Why, I find it very, very good. It's a very delightful film. It's a low budget film, yes. It's a TV premiere film, but it's got good actors in it, though. And to be fair, Jonathan Rhys Davies and David Warner, yes, they bring some elegant class to this type of movie. Even though it's low budget, they still have a good time with the film. Ah. Too bad the same thing cannot be said about the sequel, which I'm going to be covering about. Well, what time is it? Okay. Now, if you excuse me, I gotta go make something to eat, and I will be back in about 20 minutes or so. And we will pick it. And this is going to be one big video, so I'll be back for the Return of the Lost World. Well, folks, after my little break, I decided to take a look at the second film again. That's why it feels like it's been a bit longer of time frame. Okay, before I go any further, I guess some of you probably didn't understand what the hell I meant earlier about certain dinosaurs. Like, now, I'm sure some of you actually have seen my show, and you know what the hell the Giganotosaurus looks like from Jurassic Park 3. I mean, Jurassic World 3, even though it's not the exact Giganotosaurus, what it's supposed to look like. But hey, what can I say? Hollywood movie magic. But since we're talking about dinosaurs, the super predator, the big carnivore down there, is not the Spinosaurus because, one, that's actually more amphibious than it is like a land animal. Right? So you remember the Spinosaurus from JP3? That never existed. Well, supposedly there's actually like there's a dinosaur cryptid down in Africa that looks like that creature, but whatever. It's one of the cryptid things. Anyway, the dominant predator down there would be this thing, the Carcharodontosaurus. Now, if you actually are friends with me on Facebook, you may actually see me use this thing recently in my first photo shoots of 2024. Yeah, along with the Scorpius Rex action figure from the from Camp Cretaceous. Yeah, it's a cool looking dinosaur. It's actually related to the Giganotosaurus. This thing was, but you know what's actually kind of surprising? That this creature was actually discovered around the time when both these movies were taking place, along with the Spinosaurus itself. Yeah. So why don't many people remember this creature at all? Well, unfortunately, during the events of the Second World War, um, the bones are actually discovered by a German scientist, and they were brought over to Berlin. And during the bombing raids of the Second World War, the fossil remains were all destroyed in the fog of war. So that's why we don't know much. That's why we hadn't learned anything about these creatures until recent decades, when more fossils were discovered. If you want to know more about the Spinosaurus, actually, just type in the Spinosaurus on YouTube, and you'll be finding so many videos on the creature itself that it is a anomaly of a dinosaur. Anyway, that being said about dinosaurs, let's get back on to The Lost World. We are now going to continue on with the second film called The Return to the Lost World. The movie supposedly takes place 2 years later, and this is not exactly a good thing because the first movie took place in 1912, and this one takes place in 1914, which, if you know anything about history, and I just talked about the Second World War, the First World War is literally right around the corner. So, arguably, this is like the worst timing ever for the story to take place in. Now, I actually praise the first film a little bit more, but the second one, I can't really praise it as much. What's the problem with it? Well, there's several problems with it. But let me explain. Let's start with the story. The story actually takes place back at the Lost World in Africa, where the chief, that's right, the main chief himself, actually is going around investigating the land, checking on the dinosaurs. Like, okay, he's doing his thing. You know, he's the chief. All right, until he sees things are not supposed to be there, like an airplane for one thing, and oil drilling equipment, led by a Belgian scientist by the name of Dr. Hammond. Hammond? Hold on a second. I got the thing right here. Dr. Brett, Bertram Hammonds. I don't know. That sounds a little bit too close to Dr. Hammond from Jurassic Park, but this is Hammonds. He's a geologist, and he's kind of an asshole. And he's with Gomez, who survived his injuries from the first film. This is going to bring the film down a lot more. So yeah, they're actually drilling oil in the Lost World illegally. I might have to add. Look, I know if they actually get a sign right from the government or something from their government saying they have the right to actually drill oil, but the thing is, the Lost World is a scientific pot of like massive unknown discoveries, and these are nearly extinct animals brought back to that have survived for the longest time, and they're going to wipe them out just for drilling oil. That's illegal on so many levels. It's not even funny. Oh, anyway, to prove that they actually, I should have mentioned that there's a girl in this movie too that she's actually friends with from Jim in the first film too. It's kind of like a Jim's love interest type girl. She doesn't speak English at all, but anyway, she hides while the chief gets well gets his ass handed to him. Like they literally just like they just assault him a little bit, like beat him up a bit, and one of the plant-eating dinosaurs comes by and is a little bit curious to what happens, and they just gun the damn, and they blow it up. Hammond actually goes right by. The creature moves. He blows the creature's brains out right there. And what they do with the chief, they throw him off the plateau. Mamu actually happens to be nearby, so they take him over to the lost. So they take him over to one of the recovery centers, and she sends a letter, a telegraph, to get everybody to come back. Well, okay. And Eddie and Jenny are working together on current battles going on right now in the Middle East. Which the battle is now finished. They get the letter. Now, okay, now we gotta get Challenger and Summerlee. They're having a bit of a scientific dispute spit. Yeah. So, okay, Summerlee agrees to go. Challenger does not want to go, but Jim is working with Challenger. However, they actually come up with a clever scheme to actually trick Challenger to go on the boat to actually go along on the expedition. And so when they're on the boat, okay, they actually get Challenger out of the out of the box he was hiding in, and Summerlee just happened to come in as he's out there, and they get into it. I would say this is like the stupidest thing in the whole movie, but it's David Warner and John Rhys Davies giving it their all in a low budget dinosaur film. It's very childish, but it's easily the most entertaining thing in the whole movie. So it's stupid, yes, but it's actually kind of worth watching. Mainly because of these two actors. They're giving it their. I mean, these two actors are, even though they could be half-assing it, they're still giving it their all. It's still entertaining, regardless. Anyway, Jim gives them a speech saying that they did vow to return to the Lost World to help everybody. It's something bad would have happened. Well, something bad is happening, so they're coming back. So anyway, Summerlee and Challenger put their differences aside and decide to work together. And Edmund tells them to shake their hands, or shake each other's hands. They just look at him, shake hands. You know, it's funny to know that they acted like children in the last movie too, but it's still funny. Anyway, they return to the port village where they actually met when they meet up with Mamu and the chief. They tell him everything what's been going on, and Challengers bring a lot of equipment with them, like a ton of boxes. Okay. Anyway, they make more time in the They actually make more time and actually get back to the plateau. And there's actually during the trip, like Mamu and Edward actually have a little actually play around a little bit though, like a little flirtatious thing, like they did last time because they're really close friends. Um, there's something I gotta mention. There is actually like a thing in this movie where Jenny has a thing for Edmund because they've been working together for a long while, so she has the hots for him. Yeah, this is one of the reasons why I don't like this at all. Yeah, I really don't like this portion of the movie because Mamu is actually a really good character, and clearly she's more or less a wild girl that actually sees more of a better fit for Edmund. And in other interpretations of the Lost World, Edmund always goes with the wild girl, while Jenny is actually with the Great White Hunter, Roxton, which is why I wish Roxton was actually in this film series instead of replace him with Jimmy. Shit. Also, who could have played Roxton back then? Hmm? This is 1992, and the movie was made in was actually made for it was actually done by Canadian filmmakers, and the film was done in Zimbabwe. So what the hell could they use? For who the hell could they have used for Roxton, Lord Roxton? Who could have used? Who could they have used? I mean, come on, who could have? Whoa! I just thought something. Roxton's supposed to be a British hunter, right? Hear me out. Timothy Dalton. That would have been perfect. Timothy Dalton was a freaking badass when he played James Bond. So why not have him as Lord Roxton? Yeah, he would have brought a good level of badassery for this film series. But unfortunately, they couldn't get him. God damn it. I'm disappointed. And trust me, the sexual tension between Mamu and Eddie is okay. You definitely know they should have wound up together because one thing they don't skip on in this movie is actually they show Mamu full nude in this movie, and this is a PG film too. Like, I'm not even joking. Like I'm looking at the rating for both of these films. It says PG for both of them. TV PG amongst all things. Wow. And I saw this on the Sci-Fi Channel, so obviously Mamu's nudity was actually censored. But in this version, they don't. On the DVD edition, they actually show everything. Wow. Man, she is smoking hot. I'll tell you that much. And clearly, Eddie has a thing for her. And, they really should have wound up together, but they don't, unfortunately. Spoilers, they don't actually wind up together, which is, in my opinion, kind of stupid. Seriously, there was a lot of love tension between the two of them in the first movie. Like, there is a lot of tension. Like, for one thing, when they were hiding up in the tree from the carnivores in the last film, they actually were about to kiss until Jim was coming down. All right, so they clearly have like a love connection right there. And Memu actually does kiss Eddie before they actually go back to England. So, okay, fine. Why couldn't they actually just keep this? Why couldn't they be a couple? God damn it! Fuck. So anyway, during this time, I should mention that the chief's daughter actually has been trying to help a young ankylosaur get to the main camp. She's been helping it, and okay, during this time, okay, there's like a huge period with them trying to get back to the Lost World and everything. It's like a huge majority, like maybe half the film is them getting back to the Lost World. But Hammond's people actually winds up actually causing more damage by gunning down more dinosaurs, mostly herbivores, until until the fucking T Rex in the last film finally shows up, and well, due to movie logic, the T Rex is mostly immune to gunfire, and he actually winds up destroying it. And he actually runs towards the cooling pipeline, and he crushes it as he's running away. And there's some type of bad backflow, some bad blowback, and the oil fiery actually winds up going up in smoke, and it explodes, destroying the plane and most of the refinery, and thus causing a volcano to erupt. Yeah, looking for oil? You got yourself a fucking volcano. Wow, Hammond, you are such a fucking moron. So Hammond and Gomez actually wound up ditching the rest of their crew to look for the for the villagers. They actually find the girl. They leave the baby ankylosaur just to die. And they actually wanted to taking the girl up to the village. At this point, Pujo and actually is actually with the group, even though he doesn't have that much screen time in it though. But he's in most of the film. He just doesn't talk as much. So they actually go through the platform. So they actually go through the hidden caves like they did last time with all the heavy equipment, and they actually get there in time just to see that the Hammonds and and Gomez are going to try to kill the girl. So Gomez is about to kill the girl until Challenger shoots and kills him. Yeah, he finally kills off Gomez once and for all. Just he doesn't even bat an eye. He just bang, 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 bang. And and while they all want to kill Hammonds, but they decide not to kill him, so they just tie him up. He has no remorse for what he did. Hey, here's an idea. Why don't you get this? Why don't you cover up with some leaves like you did in the last film and throw them to the T Rex? That'd be a great alternative. Seriously. I mean, come on. Even the T Rex will go, "Wow, you you did all this? Yeah, I mean, you could say that I caused the volcano to erupt, but you shot me. Yeah, fuck you guys. I'm gonna eat you. I mean, it makes as much sense as anything else. Also, joking aside, when it comes down to these dinosaur figures, I actually am looking for like a Dryptosaurus to work with and a Albertosaurus figurine to work with. You know, mostly because I'm doing like I'm doing miniature, I'm doing figure photography. Yeah, with dinosaurs in nature. Why? I love dinosaurs. I like taking photographs of dinosaurs in nature. So I could use some more dinosaurs. Believe me, it feels cool. Okay, it's not cool, but it's what I do, and I actually want to tell a story one of these days using some of these figures, army figures, and so on and so forth. You know, via photography. I am an artist after all. So, after much debate, Jim and the girl actually find the baby ankylosaur. They bring it back while dodging the freaking hunt, while dodging Hammond's men. And they discover that the volcano is actually not stopping anytime soon. It's very powerful, and the chief believes that they may know a way to stop it because they are not going to leave the plateau because the chief and his men do not want to leave the plateau because it's their home for religious reasons, obviously. Until Challenger comes up with an idea. The crates that he had were filled with dynamite, but it was more powerful than dynamite. It's called Challengite. Yeah, very highly powerful explosive. Of course, somebody thought it was a bad idea for him to bring it up there. And it turns out that the cave system that they were actually went through earlier actually are linked to the volcano somehow. So he went back into the caves to actually go in there. He asked everybody, anybody else who wants to go in? They said, no, we're not doing this. This is crazy, Challenger. You're fucking crazy. We're not doing this. Yeah. Oh, very well then. I will do this myself. And he almost gets killed by a violent tremor. So Eddie actually thankfully Malone saves him, but unfortunately, the entrance to actually leave the Lost World is sealed off. So okay, now they have no choice; they can't leave. So Summerlee actually convinces everybody else that they should actually use they should use the Challenger to actually upset the volcano. Challenger believes that a possibility that they can actually make the volcano by making they probably seal it off or cork it up using the dynamite. Okay, fine. So at some point, Hammond begs Mahmood to actually to let him help because he wants to do something. But Mahmood really doesn't want to do it, and I can't exactly blame her for this one. And honestly, I would have held if I was in the movie, I would have held the guy down and tell Mahmood, "Do what you need to do, girl. Do it." Because seriously, her exact words were, "quote You do anything funny, I'll cut your throat myself." And you know what? I would have actually held the guy down and lift his head up and like cut his throat. Cut his throat, Nemo. Okay, good. Hey, T-Rex, we want you a snack. Come on, kill again. It's a big fat It's a big fat tar ball. Come on. It's only tastes like pig. It's a pig. Trust me, it's a big fat. You'll enjoy him. Okay, I really did not like the Hammond's character whatsoever. Anyway, Nightfall comes in. They're about to actually, detonate everything, but Hammond's men show up and actually start shooting everybody. And so a massive gunfight breaks out. Hammond tries to tell his men that there's no other way out. They're all screwed. They're all going to die. They have to stop the volcano. His men are just tired of listening to his lies because several of their men have actually died because of him, as it is. So a firefight ensues while Summerlee actually gets the detonator and he actually, okay, I got it. The hell? It's got a full charge. What's I'm going? There must be a break in the wire. Jim does the balls. Okay, and this is where the Jim character actually shows he's not that useless. That he's not really a Kenny. He actually runs into the cave system. Hammond actually goes after him too. I don't know why. And of course, well, he actually finds the break in the wire. Well, he actually almost gets swallowed by the volcano at some point until Hammond comes and saves him. But then Hammond discovers that the exit has been unblocked. And he actually tried to forces Jim to actually make a decision. And what does Jim actually say? I choose boom. Yeah. He sets the dynamite. He sets the challenge right off, where Hammond gets killed in the process. And Jim survives. How? I mean, he was right next to the. Oh, wait a minute. Where the dynamite was, he was covered, but Hammond was probably in full view of the challenge. So the blowback actually killed him, but Jim was covered. Okay, that makes sense. Makes sense. Okay. Anyway, the dynamite scares off Hammond's men, where hopefully the T-Rex coming by and actually ate everybody. Well, honestly, that seems more like a better happy ending. Anyway, uh, before this, so my movie actually tells Jenny if she loves Edmund, she should probably tell him that. Jenny actually confesses her love to Edmund. They kiss and make out, much to my disappointment because Eddie should have stayed with Mamu. Oh well. Jim is praised as a hero, and a flying pterodactyl is like circling the area, praising everybody. Why is there a pterodactyl flying? Wait, is that Percy from the last movie? Wow, he actually made it. Damn. Nice to see you again, Percy. You're okay, great. Anyway, Challenger and Summerlee actually gather up on the top of the hill to actually take in the atmosphere that they had saved the lost world. And of course, Summerlee congratulates Challenger on the use of the challenge. But Challenger is actually a little disappointed in a way because he decides he's going to destroy the formula for challenge because it's too dangerous. And the world's not ready for such a powerful explosive. Oh, really, Challenger? Hey, you do know that while you guys were there, the First World War had started, right? Right? Seriously, that dynamite could actually save millions of people's lives. You idiots! God. Anyway, that's the Return of the Lost World. Would I recommend watching this movie? Not really. I don't fully recommend watching this movie. But if you want to see David Warner and John Rhys Davies going at it, and their acting prowess, that's one of the reasons why they even watch this movie. That plus seeing Namu mostly nude in some towards the middle of the movie. But other than that, that's just a little cherry. That's just a little oh, you guys are. Oh, we're sorry you're not enjoying this movie. So here's some nudity from the hot chick in the whole film. Please enjoy. Yeah, thanks guys. That's really nice. Too bad the film's not that good. God damn, that movie got a great ass. John Rhys Davies and David Warner arguing with each other in full character mode. Look at some of that popcorn. Now this is enjoyable. I could watch this for hours. Hours. Well, look, all joking aside, I can't unless you want to see all that and a terrible segue to the Lost World. I would not fully recommend the second film, but most definitely recommend the first film because even though it's actually mostly a decent adaptation, and some other adaptations that have been made later on actually wound up using it as a base for how to make a Lost World film. Anyway, this is my first review of 2024, and it's a double feature of The Lost World and Return of the Lost World. I hope you enjoy it, though. You can find the first one on YouTube really easily. The second one may be a little bit hard to find on streaming services, though, or unless you've had a copy of it on DVD or Blu-ray. But either way, I hope you're all having a great new year, and for some of you who actually celebrate Christmas around this point in the time, Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night and happy holidays. Now, if you excuse me, I got a hassle Joe, what's the next character on this A list, and Rex and I gotta go through our video game library and see what's the next game he wants to review. All right. So then, if you're Frank,